Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Sarah Masubed, the marketing coordinator for Art Center East, and I'm here with Pendleton artist Jason Hogge to talk about his solo exhibit, The Warmth Within My Shadow. Thank you, Jason, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and the work that you have in the show?
Like you said, I'm a Pendleton-based artist. Been there most of my life. Although my mind kind of wanders outside of, the culture I grew up in, or the town I grew up in. And so this art is really a self-portrait. And it's also like about my exploring outside of what I grew up with. And that goes for relationships, everything. So as far as the work in the show, it was all painted at different times throughout my life. But I realized it was all kind of a self-portrait, and it sort of shows the evolution of my life and my feelings about relationships and about people and about myself. And so it's a little bit of it's a very personal show, and it's kind of a little bit scary to put all that out there for the world to see, but it also feels good at the same time to have it out of my head and out on paper or on canvas or whatever.
You said they were made at different times, but they all kind of have the same, repetitive imagery, spirals, DNA strands, the frames, circles.
Yeah.
Can you kind of talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, for sure. So I think especially like the frames is something I've thought about a lot. Is I've lived within certain boundaries in life, and whether that comes from religion or just family, society's expectations, and relationship expectations too. Like, I feel like society sets up all these boundaries and fences that we have to stay in, and I've really thought about that a lot. Even I went through a period of time where I would decide on a destination and purposely go as straight as I could go to that destination and go over people's fences, through their yards, and through buildings and whatever, just to kind of show it's all just made up things that we try to create a sense of safety or personal ownership over things, and a lot of times I think people fall so far outside of those boundaries where they're their natural selves. And I know for myself, it's been really hard to live within the boundaries that other people create for me. And sometimes I go outside of them and go, oh, there was a reason for that. But I think the frames kind of do that. And then the spirals, it's sort of like life like that with boundaries. Like you can't really put a boundary on it. Like a spiral that goes on, inward forever. If you go the same increments, it just keeps going forever, getting smaller and smaller, or the opposite direction, getting bigger and bigger. And I like that idea about kind of life in a circle, never ends if you follow it. About things that don't end really intrigue me, like thinking about eternity or like space going on forever, and not being able to measure that really is intriguing to me. And so yeah, that's.
I know you've talked about how you have a background in construction work and facility work. How does that relate to the DNA strands and also the kind of fluidity you've been talking about, exploring?
So I think I did all those things because I needed to for my family. So I tried to use my art in the maintenance field, and so building was the closest thing I could really find to that. Yeah. And so it kind of kept me engaged, and it taught me a lot about materials and different glues that work good and things that last for a long time and things that don't last for a long time.
Right. I think it was cool because the idea of DNA strands, because they have so much structure, but they're also a big part of us as the human experience. That relates a lot to what you're talking about.
Yeah, and also it's kind of interesting you say that, because there's a staircase that was built in a chapel that I just got a friend sent me an article on it, and it was a spiral staircase built. They built this staircase, and it's a spiral staircase with two helixes, so kind of like DNA.
Yeah.
And it's all built with no nails, no glue. Everything's just cut to where it all fits together. And it is kind of intriguing to me, the DNA structure. If you look at the numbers of it, it falls into numbers that I relate to anyway. And the measurements between strands, if you look at them not as a number but as an increment, there's things that really fall into strange number patterns that are really cool.
I know you do that with some of your titles and some of the pricing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. I know that there's the 3 sets that they're all 777.
Yep. 7s have always been, again, it's kind of an intriguing number because it doesn't, you can't divide it in half. It's kind of an odd number. I actually like the look of the number too. It's the way it's written. But yes, 777s have always intrigued me, 3s and 7s. And that if you take a 3 and a 7 and a 37 and you apply those to gear ratios, at 777 turns, they'll all line up at the beginning of where they started. And so it's really strange that they would do that.
Right.
And in fact, I wasn't always great at math in school, but I love to figure it out. Like, I love to figure out math and figure out coincidences and things that happen, and then try to find a formula that maybe works for that. And I've used numbers to kind of, in relationships and in life in general. Just sometimes I look for numbers as a sign, and I've had some really strange coincidences throughout my life. And 722 is a number that I'm really bonded with, and it started out in a previous relationship. I had made this better luck image, and it was all based on 7s and 21, so 3 times 7 being 21. And I was going to do a second edition, and I was going to make it 722 instead of 721. And then I met Ethel, my current wife, and we had all these things that lined up with 722. And so we actually decided to get married on July 22nd at 7:22 in the evening. And,
oh my gosh!
And then things throughout our life have kind of lined up with that. And so I've been polyamorous. Actually, at some point we were in a throuple. When we met our partner, we'd been friends for a long time anyway, and we had always nicknamed her Pi, and that was kind of our joke. And so at one point we started writing just 3.14 for Pi.
Right.
And then I was looking at the DNA strands. I was trying to figure out how you decipher pi if you don't have the formula like on your phone or somewhere near you.
Right.
And so I looked it up, and it said to get pi you divide 22 by 7. And I was just like, oh my God, that's like got to be some kind of a weird sign.
Whoa! Oh
so,
my goodness.
Yeah, there's been some things with that, and so the DNA, the 3 DNA spirals are actually they're paintings for each of us. So the 777 was for me, the 722 was for Ethel, and 3.14 was for our significant other.
Mm-hmm. Speaking on that too, you have a lot of themes of surrealism in your work, and I wanted to see what, like, other than your personal influences, what kind of artistic influences you had, and some of the people you kind of reference.
I really did enjoy the surrealist artist, like when I used to look at stuff, and of course Dali. I really respect his work more than trying to say like I'm a surrealist artist. I respect the idea that they were doing something different than what the mainstream was doing, or to do things that nobody else is doing. In fact, it's hard for me when I see somebody else doing something similar and I have to like tear everything apart and start over. And,
I should have done that.
Yeah. And I really like to try to find ways to say things with art that are intangible, like, and maybe people find things in it that I don't even understand. And so a lot of the work is actually based on dreams that I've had too, or just thoughts or visions. And but I've had some pretty intense dreams, and actually feel like I'm clairvoyant to a certain amount. I've actually talked with people that weren't physically there, and it's been kind of scary. And at the same time, I've chosen to see that as an okay thing, and actually have opened up, I think, to a different set of standards and rules that life doesn't have for me, and it's actually been a way of exploring something inside myself that can't be directed by other people or society or like the art world even. This is the way art should be done. I never want to do it that way.
Right. You kind of talk about the sort of spiritual and personal influences. How does that kind of mix in with making work that's the public can kind of view, like they can change their perspective? I know there's some works in progress that you're planning on working with while in the public.
Yeah.
How does that kind of correlate, or how does that influence your work?
So specifically with the dreams, it feels like a way that I can, with perspective, I actually like one of the paintings upstairs. It's about biting babies is what it's called.
Yeah.
and it was a pretty strange dream, but it actually has some deeper meaning for me. But I also, want other people to find if they have something that they see in it. And I think by making it purposely at a perspective where if you're standing 8 feet away from it, it actually comes into perfect perspective as if you were actually standing there. So I think it invites people into the scene where they can feel like they're a part of it rather than just feeling like you're looking at a painting. Like her illusions that kind of, again, take you out of the reality of the world directly around you and kind of sucks you into, the painting or whatever.
Sort of like a self-reflection.
Yeah. And that to me is very much like an idea of the self-reflection is based on when you're walking by somebody and there's somebody in a hallway or across the street from you, that you see, and you know nothing about them. And it's really easy to make judgments, or for your own safety, you might, have some boundaries that you kind of put up and different things. And how we do this with people, and I wondered, would we do that if we saw ourselves, like at a glance, if you just caught yourself, would you feel fear? Would you feel, anxiety, or would you feel welcoming? Mm-hmm. And so that one tries to put the reflection at a further distance, like you're looking through a window and just happen to catch somebody walking by. And so
I know we just talked about you not being labeled the mural guy, but that mural is so innovative, I think, because it's 4 different sizes for 4 different types of people, really.
Yeah.
So it's really inclusive.
Yeah, and that's something that's important to me too, and I think that's partially based on myself as well, like things that I've been working through. Like I grew up, I've talked to you about this personally, but nobody else has heard this. So when I was growing up, I was always told that I was part Native American, and we didn't have much family history to find out where that came from. That I had, fairly dark skin compared to a lot of my friends, and, dark hair, dark eyes, and my dad's the same way, and we just always assumed all that to be true, and then kind of had a little bit of an identity crisis when I did a DNA test and found out that I really had not much, cultural background at all, besides just, all from the same European kind of areas, and which is not bad either, but it was kind of is it okay for me to be a part of certain things, and that I felt like I was already engaged with, and being married to a Native American woman, I've also been a part of the culture, but now feel like am I kind of an outsider that just gets to be a part of it because of the marriage connection, or do I really have some feelings because I built up my life believing that was part of my life? And so in doing that, I started thinking about how other people, view us all, and how we view other people, and how we make rules around all that. And in doing that, there are people that are always left out of the equation just because of their background, or because of their gender, because of different things. Even in this show, I hung all my work at eye level. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it's like, what about the people that aren't tall enough to see it, or are so tall that the perspective doesn't come into view? And I thought it seems weird that we always do everything for the average person, and we leave the outliers out of the picture. And the truth is, most of us are outliers in some way. I mean, there's something that we have that's different that doesn't fit the average, and, in relationships and everything. I feel like an outlier, and I feel like an outlier in my thoughts. I feel like an outlier in my community, in a lot of places. And so I thought it'd be really cool to make some of the art to actually appeal to people that are not average, and nobody else gets to see it,
Yeah, well, that's lovely. So I guess my last question now is, how'd you come up with the title of your show, and what does that mean to you with all this? We've talked about how personal these things are for you.
So that piece is definitely a self-portrait. It actually came after I had a counseling session with the use of psychedelics to kind of find some deeper meaning in things. And through that, I really found that I had a pretty deep set fear, and I think a lot of it was based around religion, kind of around purity culture, which, my family's been in, well, most families in America have been engaged in purity culture of some form or another. And I really felt like those rules around purity culture did not include me. And it especially I felt like I have this ethical side that still doesn't fit into the rules of relationships and religion. And so through that counseling session, I really dug deep and found that the fear that I had was really directed by me. Like, I was afraid of myself. If I ever go outside the boundaries that are set for me, am I going to be like some bad guy, or somebody selfish, or and I started listening to a lot of tapes and read books about purity culture, that a lot of people have those same feelings. And so again, it's sort of a self-portrait of myself, but I also feel like it's a self-portrait of all of us. I mean, we all have feelings where we feel like outsiders sometimes, and going by society's rules, we all are. We're all outside the boundary somewhere. And I just think, that eliminates so many possibilities about life, and so many beautiful things that don't fall inside those boundaries. And so that self-portrait is just basically about me letting myself out of the cage that I put myself in, of, not allowing myself to recognize my shadow, or to even have that be a part of me. Okay? So.
Yeah, oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much, Jason. This is
thank
lovely.
you.
Thank you for talking about it with me.
Thank you guys all so much for everything. I mean, the Art Center has been awesome. You've been awesome as a friend, and, So anyway, I appreciate the interview, and
I appreciate you coming down for the interview.
Yeah.
The Warmth Within My Shadow is on view in the main gallery at Art Center East through June 28th. You could visit Wednesday through Fridays from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And for more information about upcoming events and exhibits, visit artcentereast.org.